Salundendo Treaty, the manifestation of the Cuban people. Before I begin, I want to say something with respect. I don't want to ask you to like this message. I don't want to ask you to subscribe. And I don't want to ask you to share anything you don't truly want to share. But if this message touches your heart, if it helps you, or if it makes you think, I humbly ask you to support it with a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Because that support helps this message reach more people, and together we can keep building awareness about politics, society, faith, and the truth of our time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Salundendo 9, the manifestation of consciousness. There are numbers that are not just numbers. There are numbers that become signs. There are numbers that become paths. And there are numbers that, when they repeat themselves in a man's life, stop being coincidence and begin to feel like a message. The number 9, within my spiritual path, is one of those numbers. In Ocha, it is known as Osa. In Palo, it is known as Salundendo. And within the structure of the treatise, Salundendo is the place where something essential is born, manifestation. Because before something can manifest, intelligence must exist first. That is why 8 represents intelligence, strategy, and understanding. And 9 represents manifestation, appearance, outcome, reality becoming visible. In other words, after intelligence, manifestation comes. It is important to understand this, because it is not only religion. It is not only spirituality. This is a law of life. Because everything a human being achieves, first they think it. First they understand it. First they analyze it. And then they manifest it. And if a person does not have intelligence, they may have desires, dreams, and fantasies. But they cannot manifest anything real. And if a person has intelligence, but has no manifestation, they remain trapped in theories, ideas, and words. That is why Salundendo is such a powerful treaty, because it is the point where consciousness stops being thought and becomes action. And I want to speak about this today with responsibility, because in my life, the number 9 has not been distant. It has been a number that has followed me, marked me, and accompanied me. I was born on April 2, 1958. And Fidel Castro entered Cuba on January 1, 1959. That means I was practically 9 months old when discord entered my country. 9 months old when the longest cycle of political, social, and human imprisonment in Cuba's history began. And for me, that is not just a random fact. Because 9, in Salundendo, speaks of manifestation. And in my life, manifestation appeared early, the manifestation of spirituality, the manifestation of politics, and the manifestation of sociability. Because 9 is not a silent number. 9 is a number that pushes. 9 is a number that shows. 9 is a number that reveals. And that is why I have always said something that for me is law. I am not a man of fantasies. I am a man of logic. I am a man of reality. I do not consider myself a super intelligent person. But I do consider myself a man with a strong and clear clarity to understand what is real and what is false. To understand what can be fulfilled and what cannot be fulfilled. To understand what is coherent and what is manipulation. And in times like the ones we are living today, that is a responsibility. Because the world is full of promises that cannot be fulfilled. Full of political fairy tales. Full of ideologies that are sold as salvation, but end up becoming chains. Full of speeches that sound beautiful, but hide control, dependency, and misery. And that is where Salundendo manifests. In the moment when the human being learns to look at truth without fear. The 9, Osa, Salundendo, also manifests in sociability. Because I am a social man. A man who has dealt with thousands and thousands of people. A man who has learned to read the human being through their behavior, their eyes, their reactions, and their coherence. And when you live like that, you learn something that is painful but necessary. The human being can be manipulated. The human being can be deceived. The human being can be seduced by promises. The human being can be dragged by fear. But you also learn something greater. When the human being awakens, there is no power that can put them back to sleep forever. And that is what we are seeing today. Not only in Cuba, but in the entire world. That is why I say that Salundendo is not only a spiritual treaty. Salundendo is a political treaty. Salundendo is a social treaty. Salundendo is a treaty of consciousness. Because manifestation is not only seeing spirits. Manifestation is not only feeling signs. Manifestation is understanding time. Understanding cycles. Understanding history. Understanding the mathematics of life. Understanding the geography of peoples. Understanding that energies manifest differently depending on the place, the moment, and the stage. And that is why, when I speak about politics, I do not speak from empty passion. I do not speak from hatred. I do not speak from fanaticism. I speak from manifestation. And I want to make something clear. This message is not an isolated text. This is part of a greater work. Everything I am explaining here, manifestation, consciousness, cycles, history, numbers, and the reality of the human being, will be expanded with much greater depth in my encyclopedia, a project of 9 books that I am building as a legacy. This teaching will appear in the Bible of the 21 Paths, where each treaty and each sign will be explained through its root, its manifestation, and its application in real life. It will also appear in the mysteries of life, because this reality is not lived only in the spiritual world, it is lived in the social, political, and human world, and in the history we are going through. And it will appear in 66 patapambas to overcome difficulties, because every true path has trials, and every trial has a science to be overcome. I say this because I am not building messages for a single day. I am building a legacy for time. Because I have seen what happens when a people allow themselves to be deceived. I have seen what happens when an ideology enters the mind and becomes a political religion. I have seen what happens when fear becomes normal. I have seen what happens when the human being stops thinking for themselves. And I have also seen what happens when a people awaken. That is why Salundendo is the treaty of manifestation. Because after intelligence comes reality. After analysis comes the fact. After lies comes the fall. After darkness comes the dawn. And I believe, with faith, with logic, and with responsibility, that we are living a time where the consciousness of the people is manifesting. In Cuba, in America, and in the world. And when consciousness manifests, what is false cannot sustain itself forever. May God give me strength to continue speaking with coherence. May God give me clarity to continue teaching with humility. And may God protect the peoples of the world so they do not fall again into the same cycles of manipulation, lies, and slavery. Because the future is not built with promises. The future is built with truth. And when truth arrives, it does not ask for permission. Sincerely, Professor Jose Alberto Espinosa Barrero. Tada and Kiza Ngaluyente Congo. Onichanga Oba Oloyu.